I want your mind to hear you limitless. I want your soul to hear you limitless. I want everything inside of you to recognize.
Most Antiguans would see you as synonymous with track and field. You're a person who has been seen around Yasco as an athlete, now as a coach.
Well, my journey has been a long one. Journey has been 32 years since I started track and field at 8 years old. Started from the Camp St. John's Catholic Primary School, which I am PE teacher there now. But back then, Mr. Clem Roberts, who is now the PE teacher at St. John's Academy, he was the one who started us back then, and we all came over and joined the Wings Club, which the president, the head coach of Wings now, and the president of the association, Everton Cornelius. So moving on from Mr. Roberts, Mr. Cornelius have been my coach, and stayed there up until I left for college in 2003. And got back. I did continue running after getting back from college, but starting to work at St. John's Catholic in 2010, I ended up getting into coaching, which was inevitable. Ever since I was an athlete, I always planned to be a coach. So I got into coaching, being an assistant coach in the Wings Sports Club, up until 2014 when I decided to venture out and on my own and started Supernova Athletics Club. So club that's now celebrating 10 years.
Alright, so you would have represented Antigua as a youth?
Yes, from 1993, I first meet Leland Allen's youth in Tortuga, and right up until last semester. I think after I went to, well, I did go to a few senior meets as well as a junior. Barbados Classic.
As a junior, you qualified for some senior meets.
Yes.
So give the viewers a little bit of a resume. Your resume coming up. So you mentioned the first time you represented the country. Any notable performances?
The first time I represented, I said in 1993, Leland Allen's youth in Tortuga. No notable performances on that first meet. As a matter of fact, that's probably the first time I played publicly. Even Antigua as the number one on 11 athlete, and got to Tortola. The first race was the 100, and those who know me back then, yes, I used to do everything, but as a career evolved, as a middle distance, long distance runner.
Well, yeah. If I could ask you to pause for a second, I remember you as a long distance runner. 1500 meters, 800 meters. Did you even do the 4? After a while, you did the 4 as well. So back then, you started out sprinting.
Yes.
Okay.
Started out doing everything.
Okay.
But at that first meet, the only two events that were available was the 100 and 400.
Okay.
So I ran the 100 with myself and Stacy Quashin, which you may remember as well.
As a long distance runner as well. So she did the 100 too?
She had to do the same events.
Okay.
Both of us coming up to the same that started.
Mm-hmm.
So 100, I came like 7, second to last. And I have to pick up Claudette Peters, the diva. She was on that meet. She was the one that consoled me until it was time for my next race.
So, but Claudette was an athlete?
Yes, she was an athlete. Claudette, I think she came second in the 150, 100 that time. The 400 I ran that came fourth. So, of course, no medals, and going back home after traveling for the first time. It was an experience for me, knowing that I thought I was the Superman here, but Antigua wasn't the only place that existed.
Well, recently, you've gotten, and not that I want us to get too deep into it, but just to speak on it, you'll get into a back and forth. So you see people talk on social media about the performances of athletes when they travel, when they leave Antigua and they go to different meets and they don't medal. And there are some people who would see that or swear that's a failure, right?
Yes.
And there's nothing to celebrate and why congratulate and so forth. Can you speak? Because I've said, track and field can be sometimes unforgiving. You train, and especially if you're doing long distance, you do 5,000 meters and you don't end up in the medals. That's a long race, you don't end up in the medals. What would you say to that type of thinking?
Well, generally, it's myopic thinking, and it usually comes from people who don't really know better. So sometimes I will take on the discourse more as a means to educate and not to put down. But frankly, there's just some people that cannot be educated. So no matter how I try to explain that, this is not just sports day. It's not even a school sports day. It's not even into school. These athletes put in the work, and for every event, they can only be 3 medals. So,
You had your first meet in Tortola. You ran the 1 and came 7th. You ran the 4 and you came 4th.
yeah.
Tell us, more about you as a junior athlete. Well, how did you deal with that kind of disappointment after that first meet?
I mean, at 9 years old, that would have been tough on me then. Again, being the local star, never knowing what it was to lose before. If maybe I ran races here and lost in Antigua, then I would have gotten the taste of defeat, so I would have deal with it. It was tough, but how long would the pain last for? They say 9 days. So I got back training. The next year came around, that meet came around again. Of course, we had a bigger team this time, and I knew my lesson. I wasn't going to go on the 1 and the 2 because my best friend at the time, Christian Zimwa, came in, and he was actually the first person to beat me in the 100 in Antigua. So he went there and became the champion in the 1 and 2. The same 400 that I came 4th in the year before, I won that. Broke the record from the previous year. That record stayed for at least 15 years before it was broken by another Antigua.